So in this video, we are going to look at aggregation and analysis. This is the very first type of data manipulation that we are going to be looking at in this video. And as a way of definition, to aggregate data simply means to combine and summarize multiple individual data points into a more concise and meaningful representation. Okay, you can have, let's look at our data sets. You can have this for these different groups. Okay, let's say for Nigeria, you have this group for January, February, and so on and so forth. You want to aggregate this data. So these are different points, different data points. You want to aggregate them to have a single representation of this. And then what you can look at is, say, maybe you want to look at the sum of this. So you see, you have, okay, let's say we are looking at all this group. Okay, wherever the thing is, assuming that this is what we are looking at now. You can agree with me that these are different data points. Group A, Nigeria, but here Nigeria is for January, here is for February. Then you have here Group A, also for Cameroon, good, but for different months. The same thing goes here, Group A for the month of July, and so on and so forth. So all these data that are selected right now, you want to aggregate them and get a single representation. The single representation might be you are interested in the sum. You may be interested in the average. You may be interested in the counts. Okay, so by definition, when you want to aggregate, you are bringing all your different individual data points into a more concise and meaningful representation. It can involve grouping the data based on certain attributes or criteria and performing calculations to derive the summary. Okay, so like we try to explain, we may decide now we want to get one single value for all these points. Same thing for here, here, and here. Okay, so we are going to delve into this using this our case study. Again, we are going to insert a pivot table right here, and I'm going to leave it at new worksheet, and it's going to place it right before the active sheet, which is here right now. And so let's say we want to get our groups. So we have our groups here now, group A to C. Remember that this is talking about the countries that went into a campaign to recruit people into the project. And these, they recruited out of this population for each of the month, each of the country. And for this, for them to recruit this, they expended this. And then at the end of the project, this was the retention. So you will see there is a reduction here. This is 34,585 enrollees. And these were recruited out of 360,000. And they expended $5,319. And then at the end, they had 87,000. Well, I think we may be looking at this. I think, yes, this retention, it shouldn't be more than what was recruited. Okay, so we are just going to, it's a tweak that we need to make. So this should actually be less than 10,000. Okay, so this should actually be less than 10,000. So let's say we have 8,000. And then here we have 10,000. Okay, it should not be more than 10,000. All right, so here it means here we had 18,000, and then here it came down to 9,000. Okay, so this is a better data. And then if you are going to use the file, because we are going to upload the file, if you are using the one that we uploaded in the module 1 and module 2, you may tweak this so that your retention can actually be less than the enrollees by just ensuring that your round between, we have 10,000 up to 100,000. So it's I'm just trying to randomly generate numbers. And so for your retention, all you need to do to make sure that it begins with less than 10,000 and does not exceed 10,000. Even though in some of these, we might still have some issues, okay? We might have some issues where 10,000 above, and then here is 8,000 and 10,000. Okay, let's see if we encounter any of those problems, then we know it's an outlier, and that can also help us to flag it out and say, hey, you cannot have a retention greater than what you have enrolled. Okay, so let's go with that. So right now, we are going back to our pivot table, and we are interested in some form of aggregation. Now, let's get our enrollees onto our value field. And then here, we see that group A, for all the countries that are in group A, this was the total that they enrolled. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do now is we are still going to describe that later. Okay, so I'm going to just format this so that not this. I need to format this. I usually like seeing my separators. Okay, it gives me that visual cue to know that yes, this is in thousands or in millions easily. All right, so let me zoom this a bit. So we are looking at the group A, the group C, the group B to group F, what they enrolled. All right, so this is aggregation by sum. You can see as I'm hovering over, I'm hovering the mouse over these values, you can see the sum of enrollees recruited. Now, I might decide to change this. So for us to change this, permit me to go over here and copy this entire pivot table. So I'm going to copy this and drop it here. And having done that, I'm going to change the value fields over there. Here, I'm going to right click. You know, we were talking about aggregation. So here in this first pivot table is by sum. So right now, I'm going to my value field setting. I click this. You can see it's sum. Let's see, we want to see average. Let's see what that gives us. So you see that this is now saying in group A, the country's average is 55,957. All right. Now, to get this further, I want us to just name these pivot tables. Okay. So for this first pivot table, I'm going to click here, come over here. This is pivot table. So let's say I'm going to give this aggregation, let's say by sum. Okay, I enter. So I know that this, whatever chart we are going to bring out of this, we know it's coming from aggregation by sum. Okay, let's make it, let's say sum aggregation. Let's make it simple so that we know that the first letter, sorry, the first word is giving us the view. It's giving us exact knowledge of what this pivot table is. And then for this one, this is average. Okay, so I'm going to click here and I'm going to write average, and that's aggregation. All right. Now I can continue on and on to explore the different options. Now, you may encounter something that does not make meaning. So I'm creating another pivot table, and this one now I'm going to, let's look at another field setting. Say, let's explore them and see what may not give us what we want. Say, assuming we want to look at count. Is it going to make any sense? No, because it's telling you that group A occurs 216 times. Group B, the same thing. So it does not really make sense in this wise. Now, what may make meaning in this wise is if we bring in the country. And then this now will now tell us how many times each of those countries occur, because we are looking at counts. All right, so again, let's rename this as count underscore aggregation. All right, so rather than having our group here, I'm going to remove this group and I'm going to bring in the country. So I'm removing this, I'm bringing in my country here. And then it's going to tell us how many times each of these countries occurred in this report. So Benin is 72, 72 up to here. Cameroon occurs 76. The same thing for this other 72, 75. Okay. So I want to significantly alter our data set so that we can, let's see what will happen to these numbers. All right. So let's go to our data set, and I'm going to change some countries. Let's say I'm going to change a whole lot of this. Let's say I'm going to change them to Ghana. So we have a lot of reduction from Niger to Ghana. And let's see another country that we can, let's say Cote d'Ivoire. Let's pick a good number of Cote d'Ivoire and use Liberia for all of them. Now, we have made some significant changes in this data set. Now, let's go back to our pivot table and we are going to refresh. Okay, you know, we talked about refreshing your data so that you can pick the updated data. So I'm going to refresh right now and let's see what happens. So right here, right inside this, I have my pivot table analyze button here. And then right under, above this data, this box here, I have this refresh. So just watch what is going to happen to this entire set. By refreshing once, all the pivot table will refresh. So let's see what happens. You see, a lot of things have changed. All right, Cote d'Ivoire remaining only 8 now, and Liberia has increased to 137, and those changes are what we have seen. There isn't much change in the number recruited. Now let's look at one more. So I'm going again to pick this one. Let's look at one more aggregation. And this time we're going to explore the other aspects of aggregation. But right now, rather than doing it here, I'm going over here on my pivot table task pane. So I'm going ahead to click here. It opens up. And again, I'm going to value field setting. So you can actually do this setting either right from here, right-clicking, or you come over here and right-clicking, just clicking, open the particular field you are looking at. So let's go ahead and click this. We have here. So what are the different options that we have here? If you are interested in using standard deviation, variance, and so on and so forth, you can use this, any of them. But now let's see, we want to look at the group that spent more in terms of the expenditure. So that means we are looking at the maximum. But remember that once we click this, it's going to give us the enrollees, but we are going to change this. And then let's see. So this is the maximum for each group. So if you come to group A, the countries in group A, the maximum in that group is 97,756 enrollees. Now, if we are interested in looking at the expenditure, so we are going to bring our expenditure here, and then we are now going to do the same thing, open up here, look at the value field setting, and drop the maximum. So we want to see who spent more. Okay, so again, let's right-click here and format our number, because I like to see the 1,000 separator so that I'll know which one is which. And so it looks like the maximum for the group A, it's 9995. I think the highest is group E. Okay, group E and group F, they seem to have the same figure. Again, let's go and alter. Let's go to our data set and alter the values for expenditures, okay? And let's say we want to increase this from 10,000 to 100,000. Let's see how that works. Okay, this is also 100 and that. And then let's say for some group, I want to specifically, let me apply filter and bring out group C. I'm just particularly interested in group C. And so let's say I'm picking this out of the various ones and I'm reducing this. Okay, let's reduce this from 1,000 to 10,000. Great. So I have changed some values for group C. Okay, so it means we are going to have less value for group C. Now we have new set of data. Let's go back to our pivot table. Let's refresh so that we can fetch new data. Refresh. And then here we are. Again, there isn't much that has changed. There isn't much that has changed. I want a significant change. Okay, so let's go back there and do another data manipulation. I want to change these values. Again, let's pick our group. I want to pick group F. So let's pick the entire group F. All right, so group F, expenditure, I'm selecting everything. I'm going to make this say 100, and I'm going to give them 1,000 for all the group A. Okay. I think this will give us a significant change. So now let's go back to our pivot table, analyze, refresh. Great. So you see the maximum for group F is 99. Group A is 1,000, and so on and so forth. And these are those ones that had the previous 1,000 and 1,000 or 100 or so, the one we changed. So we can see the significant change. And then this is aggregation by different functions. So we have looked at aggregation by sum, aggregation by average, aggregation by count. Okay, so this is the count, how many enrollees, the count of enrollees that each country made. And then also for maximum, you can do a whole lot of functions as you want. Okay, in the next video, we are going to be looking at the other aspects of data manipulation. Maybe we'll just look at how do you customize your fields. So we'll be looking at sorting, filtering, grouping, and then also ranking. All right. So see you in the next video of Module 3, data manipulation.